Most people don't check their superannuation until it's too late to fix the mistakes sitting inside it. If you're in your 40s right now, you're standing at a point most Australians never notice until it's gone. You still have time, real time. The kind of time that turns a small decision today into a much bigger outcome 20 years from now. But here's the problem. Most people in their 40s treat super like a locked box, something they'll deal with later. And later has a habit of arriving faster than anyone expects. Picture this for a second. You're sitting at the kitchen table, coffee going cold, and you open your super statement out of curiosity more than anything else. You scan the balance. It looks okay, maybe even good. So you close it, relax, and move on with your day. That's exactly the moment where most Australians make their first mistake, because a balance on its own tells you almost nothing about whether you're actually on track. What matters isn't just how much is sitting there today. What matters is how that money is invested, what it's costing you in fees, and whether it's positioned to grow the way you're assuming it will. And this is where the first hidden concept comes in. Something most people never think to check. Your super fund puts your money into an investment option. Balanced, growth, conservative. The labels sound simple, but the difference between them over 20 years can be enormous. Many Australians in their 40s are sitting in a conservative or overly cautious option without realizing it. Sometimes because that's just where they were placed by default when the account was opened years ago. A conservative setting might feel safer emotionally, but with 2 decades still ahead of you before retirement, being too cautious can quietly cost you far more than any market dip ever could. Growth options carry more short-term movement, yes, but time is the one thing that smooths that out. And right now, time is something you still have plenty of. But that's not even the part that surprises most people. The second hidden concept is fees. Not the interesting kind of hidden, the boring kind that nobody talks about because it doesn't sound exciting, but fees compound just like your balance does. A difference of even 0.5% in fees held for 20 years can quietly eat into your final balance by an amount that would make most people uncomfortable if they actually sat down and calculated it. Some funds charge for insurance you don't need. Some charge for investment options that underperform simple, low-cost alternatives. And because these fees are deducted automatically, most people never feel them happening. They just notice, decades later, that the number wasn't what they expected. So here's the real question. When was the last time you actually compared your fund's fees to another option? Not asked a friend, not assumed it was fine, actually compared them. Most Australians haven't. And that single gap between assuming and checking is often where thousands of dollars quietly disappear over a working life. Now here's where it gets more interesting, because this next part is where most people get caught completely off guard. Debt in your 40s behaves differently than debt in your 20s or 30s. In your 20s, debt feels like a stepping stone. In your 40s, debt starts competing directly with your retirement timeline. A mortgage that still has 20 years left on it, credit card balances carried month to month, personal loans for cars or renovations, all of it sits there, quietly reducing the amount of money you can direct toward your future self. And the tricky part is, none of it feels urgent in the moment. It feels manageable, normal. Everyone has some debt, right? But normal and optimal are two very different things when retirement is the goal. Every extra year you carry high-interest debt is a year where that money isn't compounding for you elsewhere. It's compounding against you instead. This doesn't mean panic or drastic action. It means awareness, knowing exactly what you owe, at what rate, and having an honest plan for reducing the debt that's costing you the most before it becomes the debt that follows you into retirement. Let's slow down here for a moment, because this next part is the one most people wish someone had explained to them 10 years earlier. Superannuation is not your only tool. It's a powerful one, but it comes with rules about when you can access it. Rules that exist for good reason, but that also means super alone doesn't give you flexibility. Building savings and investments outside of super gives you options. Options for an emergency, options for opportunities, options for the years right before retirement when you might want to reduce your working hours gradually instead of stopping all at once. Relying entirely on super and nothing else can leave you financially rigid exactly when you want the most freedom. This is also where additional contributions come into the picture. And this is genuinely one of the most underused strategies among Australians in their 40s. Adding extra into super, even in modest, consistent amounts, gives that money the maximum number of years to grow before retirement. It's not about large lump sums. It's about starting the habit now, while time is still your biggest advantage. The earlier those extra contributions begin, the more years compounding has to work in your favor. Wait another 10 years and you lose exactly that, years you can never get back. But there's something else, something almost nobody checks, and it has nothing to do with growth or fees at all. Insurance and beneficiaries sitting inside your super account. Many Australians have insurance cover automatically attached to their super. Life insurance, total and permanent disability cover, sometimes income protection. And most people have no idea what level of cover they actually have, whether it still suits their situation or whether they're paying for something that no longer fits their life. On top of that, beneficiary nominations, the instructions for where your super goes if something happens to you, are often left outdated for years. A change in relationship status, a new family member, a life change that was never reflected in the paperwork. It sounds like a small administrative detail. It isn't. It's one of the most overlooked parts of a person's entire financial picture. Now picture two people, both in their mid-40s, both with almost identical super balances today. The first person checks their investment option once every few years, out of habit more than strategy. They don't compare fees. They carry a mortgage they're not actively working to reduce faster. They've never made an extra contribution. Their insurance and beneficiary details haven't been touched since the account was opened. The second person reviews their investment option and confirms it still matches their timeline. They've compared their fees against alternatives and adjusted where it made sense. They have a clear plan for reducing high-interest debt ahead of their mortgage. They've started small, consistent, additional contributions. Their insurance and beneficiaries are current and intentional, not leftover from years ago. Same starting balance, same number of years until retirement. But by the time retirement actually arrives, these two people are very likely standing in two completely different financial positions. Not because one earned more, but because one made a series of small, informed decisions and the other simply didn't. So what does this actually mean for you sitting here today? It means retirement planning in your 40s isn't about chasing a magic number. It's about a handful of practical checks. Look at your current investment option and confirm it still matches how many years you have left until retirement. Compare your fees against at least one alternative fund, even briefly. Get an honest picture of your debt and prioritize the highest cost balances first. Consider starting small, consistent additional contributions if your situation allows it. And review your insurance and beneficiary details at least once a year, even if nothing in your life has changed, because confirming nothing has changed is valuable too. None of this requires a dramatic overhaul. It requires attention, consistency, the willingness to actually open the statement instead of glancing at the balance and closing it again. Here's the core of it. Your 40s aren't a warning sign. They're a window. One of the widest windows you'll ever have to shape your retirement before the choices in front of you start narrowing. The people who use this decade well aren't the ones who earned the most. They're the ones who paid attention while there was still time for small decisions to grow into something significant. You don't need to have all the answers today. You just need to stop assuming and start checking. If this gave you a clearer picture of where you actually stand, take a moment to subscribe and let us know in the comments which part of your super you're planning to check first. And if you want to understand what changes as you move closer to retirement, the next video walks through exactly that.